Hi, I'm Shahar, and this is SpillTheBeans.tv. We are going to have many conversations with entrepreneurs, and they are going to be honest conversations because I want you to really understand the process they go through or they have been going through or went through in their businesses, so you can, of course, take the best of it and apply in your own business. My first guest is Chris Mako from chrismakocoaching.com. You know, it's really impressive what she has done in just a couple of years. Chris was in the corporate world for 28 years, and she made the transition to start her own business, which is quite scary in itself. But more than that, she's been very successful at what she's doing. So I spent some minutes talking to Chris, and you know, she really spilled the beans and told you about her challenges and everything that in that process that went through. So I want you to pay very close attention to what Chris has to say. You know, we did this as a Google Hangout, which is interesting because it was my second one. So we had some technical issues there. You're not going to see my face a lot, but you know, the content is incredibly good, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Shahar with Buzz Booster, and this is Spill the Beans TV. And today we have somebody really special to share with you some of her life experiences and of course some things that she's doing in her business that is working really well. I have with me Chris Mako from Chris Mako Coaching. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Shahar. Good to be here with you.
Good. You know, Chris, first of all, I would like to know a little bit about you. You know, tell me a little bit about your background, you know, the things that you like in life, and, you know, let's go from there.
Okay, cool. Well, I have had an interesting career. I started in corporate right out of college and worked for, and since it's spill the beans, I'm going to spill the beans.
Good.
I worked for IBM for 28 years, have traveled internationally, spent time in China, in India, in France, was leading a global team of skill development folks and helping a lot of our employees develop their skills beyond where they were so that they could be more supportive of our sales force. And so I had the opportunity in that 28 years to almost operate in my own field. So it was a great entree into being an entrepreneur, but it was still within the confines of a corporate environment. And so after 28 years and a lot of heartache, actually, no, it was such a great experience because I really got to work with a lot of different people. I even got the opportunity to go back to school and get my master's degree in business management, and had the opportunity to use that not only in my corporate environment, but as I moved into becoming an entrepreneur. So all of that experience and expertise and all of that good stuff has lent itself well in terms of my being a business coach and working with a lot of entrepreneurs and building their businesses. So moved around a lot, as you know, IBM's known for I've been moved, and I was one of those employees who moved 5 times in 15 years.
Wow. But
again, was a great opportunity for me to be in a lot of different environments and has made me flexible, which is really good for being an entrepreneur and being resilient. So I had an interesting road to travel.
That's good, but 28 years is quite a long time in a corporation, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I understand that if you're working for somebody, you do like some things like security, you know, the paycheck is coming, right? So how come you decide to do such a drastic transition to becoming an entrepreneur? Because, you know, of course, I like being an entrepreneur and I'm used to this lifestyle, but it's usually not an easy transition from people coming from corporations.
No, and I can tell you, I remember at one point, probably 10 or 12 years ago, even thinking about an entrepreneur and saying to myself, there's no way I would ever give up the security. I like having a paycheck, guaranteed paycheck in my bank account every 2 weeks, knowing for sure that my benefits are covered, that everything's covered, and I don't have to worry about it. Why the hell would anybody ever give up this kind of security?
Exactly.
And I know that one of the reasons that I joined IBM was because my parents are depression, or were, because they're both deceased, but my parents were Depression era children. Depression. So they went through the Depression and instilled in all of their children, get a secure job, work for a corporation who will take care of you for the rest of your life. So they were thrilled when I got with IBM because people stayed there for life. But because IBM had been through a lot of roller coaster changes in terms of their business expanding and almost going out of business at one point, you start to think a little differently about what security truly means. And as I got older, both chronologically and in number of years in the business, I started to realize my security is in my hands. My security is not in their hands because they, like anybody else, can run into trouble and lay people off or shut down businesses and decide they're going into something else. And I better take control of my future. And so I started thinking about, what do I want to do to protect myself? And that's when I got into coaching and went through coaching school and said, I'm going to eventually lead and grow a coaching business so that I could protect myself. The other thing the point I have to make is I wasn't completely convinced of that. I think I was kind of talking myself into it, but I knew I was getting to the point that I was getting closer to 30 years, and I knew I didn't want to work past 30 years, but I wouldn't be old enough not to work. So I also knew I had to do something else. So I had that double-edged thing going on. I had to protect myself while I was there and think about taking control of my own security. But even if I stayed to 30 and retired, I could not retire. So I had to go be an entrepreneur or go work for someone else, and that wasn't going to happen.
But that was a very viable option, right? You could go.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So that was the moment that you said, I don't care about security. Security is fake anyway, at least in our generation, which was not true before. Before you would go into a job and maybe stay there the rest of your life, and that was a good thing. And I remember there was a period of time that staying too long in a job was not a good thing anymore, especially in the techie industry, right? You stay more than 2 years, people thinking, what's wrong? So what you understood before as being a stable person was not true anymore. And today we just don't have security. But you still could have gone and find another job other than open. So then what went through your mind that decided, no, it has to be the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was a very significant turning point in both my life and my career. Because while people are experiencing layoffs, IBM always had what we call resource actions. And it started back in the 90s. I was in Boston. They closed the Boston office, and they gave you a choice. You could go to some other location. They would move you, and that's why I moved so many times. They'd move you to another job. No big deal. So 2 years ago, the department I was in was downsizing, having a resource action, and they said, hey, you got 30 days. Go talk to your friends, and if you want to go do something else, you're free to go do that. And I came home that weekend, and I said to myself, I have the opportunity to leave with a paycheck or have the opportunity to go get another job. And I said to myself, would I regret spending 2 more years to just be able to say I retired and be at that point over 50 and not be able to compete maybe effectively against my peer coaches? Or should I just take the money now, knowing what I know, taking my own security, and leave and be happy? Which would I choose? And it took me that entire weekend having some really deep conversations with myself and my spiritual guide to say, it's time to go. There was no reason for me to stay another 2 years. And no one was going to take control of my security anymore but me. So the best decision I ever made. I de-aged. I was looking 50 when I wasn't 50, and I truly reverted back to a more healthy, vibrant, energetic person when I made that decision.
I like that, because this is really an example a lot of people go through. I don't know if you're aware, but the 55 plus is the segment that opens, actually it's the 50 in this case, that opens more businesses than any other age group. And I think boomers, they are always thinking about this. I don't want to retire. I don't want at least to have the conventional retirement. right? And I have a lot to do with my life because I easily have 30 or 40 years ahead of me, and now I want to go after the things I really value, right? And then that's when many of them decide to open a business, and I think you went through exactly that process, which is very cool. Good. Now, so one day you woke up. There was no job to go. You knew your own, but at that moment also money was not coming in anymore. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so what did you do that day?
Oh, God. Well, after I got off the floor, so let me back up and say that I have been planning for this and have been working. I had my website and I was talking to people. But that first day, you kind of go, oh my God, I gotta work this thing. Not like I did when it was like a part-time gig.
Yeah, now it's for real.
Right, it's for real. Yeah. So I started going out and networking and talking to people and letting them know, I'm in my business, I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. And in fact, before I left, I signed my first, at that time, highest paying client. So it was kind of a boost for me to say, okay, I can do this. How long did it take you?
How long did it take you to get that client?
Believe it or not, the same night I met her. She said, oh yeah, I want to work with you. And I went, So yeah, it didn't take long. What took, I think, a little longer was getting my confidence up to the point where I recognized that I could truly do this. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting out and speaking, which I hadn't done before. I started using networking a lot because I recognized that I needed people to know who I was. And this is such a key point because people think that they sit behind their computer and they send emails and they build a website and things. Nothing's going to happen until somebody knows you exist. Mm-hmm. And while you can get some traction online, it's going to take you so much longer. And I figured that out immediately. So I knew I had to get out and get people knowing about me and telling people how I could help them. And that would help me build my client list. So between that and I went through some training, I had already been following some coaches and went through their workshops and joined a mastermind where, thank God I met you. That helped me to start building up my skill so that I could build my presence online, but continue to do the offline thing and networking and speaking and doing that thing.
So you're telling me, Chris, that you had to do offline stuff and go out and really network and maybe pay membership fees to be in those networking groups. It was not just, okay, you woke up in your pajamas, went to the computer and made $1 million.
Oh, no. Did I miss something? No, that doesn't happen. Whoever's selling that is rooking you because that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, you do hear people coming in the coaching consulting profession thinking that that's all they will have to do, and that can be very frustrating, especially to their bank accounts. Right?
Yes.
Now, so it's been 2 years, right? Correct? In these 2 years, what kind of challenges have you faced?
Oh, gosh. Where should we start? Okay, so let's start with learning how to manage money better because I did leave with a severance check, which was awesome. But what happens with that is you just think, well, there's going to be more money coming. Mm-hmm. And you don't think, I got to manage this well so one, I don't spend it all. Because here's the thing that I got to make a point of. When you're used to getting a paycheck, you look at that severance check as a big paycheck.
Right.
You don't think about your business has to pay for your life now. So what I was doing was I was taking any money I brought into my business and keeping it in my business. Mm. And I was living on that check, and the two didn't blend. Not thinking, wait a minute, that business has to support me. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't trying to build up, how do I explain this? I wasn't as focused on generating a lot of revenue because I had that paycheck to pay my expenses. And so guess what happened? When I started running out of that severance check, I went, oh, hell, I don't have any money coming in to recover this. So you have to think totally different as an entrepreneur, because you're not an employee in your business. You're an entrepreneur in your business. You have to focus on both. You have to focus on the revenue side and not just think I can cover it with just this paycheck, because there's no paycheck. So that was one clear lesson. The other thing is you often, because you've been in this corporate environment, you kind of think that other things will take care of itself, and they don't. You have to now take care of your health, your insurance, and everything else that used to be covered by your employer. You're responsible for all of that now, and you got to shift that thinking. So a lot of mindset had to shift in terms of this is a business, not I've got a paycheck coming in. By the way, I got unemployment for a while as well, so that still felt like a paycheck, which kept me in that mindset. So that was one thing. So starting to run out of that severance and knowing I had to build up the money on the other side that was now my paycheck was a big mindset shift. Clients, so I didn't learn well to retain the clients that I had worked so hard to get. So I kept going out trying to get more clients. And the ones who were just ready to move on, I just let them move on. Well, I shouldn't have done that. I should have tried to keep them. So I had to learn to build client loyalty and keep those clients in my business and give them somewhere to go next. Another thing that you taught me was to think about, okay, I've taught you this. How has that created another problem that I can now help you with? So thinking more strategically and long-term with those clients was a major shift for me. Because okay, you're done with your program. See ya. I'll go get the next. You can't do that. You have to do both, by the way. So that was a good shift for me.
You know, I like the points. Let's just revisit some of them, okay? Like you saying, you had the paycheck coming somehow because of unemployment or whatever you had from the company you work with. So, you know, for a while, you were just feeling safe. And it's very easy, I would assume, to postpone all the things you don't like to do in a business, right? Because, again, unfortunately, most of the times we come to our first business thinking we are only going to do whatever we like to do. And business has a lot of facets, right? So did you have this kind of behavior while the money was there? Would you postpone the things you didn't like too much or not? You were all the time. Good. Thank you. Because because I think we all do that when that happens.
Yeah, you kind of think, well, I got the money, I can pay the bills, so if I don't want to go to a networking event tonight, I won't go. No, you gotta go.
Yes, you gotta go.
You gotta go. You gotta do the webinars. You gotta do the emails. You gotta stay in touch. You gotta stay active. You gotta stay fresh. You still have to do those things, because that money you have to pay expenses out of that money, and it does dwindle down. And if you don't have another source feeding it, you will realize your worst dream, which is what we all fear and why we want that security, which is, I don't have any money and I got to go get a job.
Yes. But you know, a lot of people, Chris, they transition from corporate to being an entrepreneur. And in the back of their mind, they are thinking, if this doesn't work, actually I do hear that every now and then, if this doesn't work, I will have to go get a job. For me, on the other side, as an advisor, I'm thinking, well, you will make everything possible to go back to get a job, because that's where security is. My question to you is, did this cross your mind? Was this something that you lived by for a period of time? How was your position? Because you could, with 28 years of experience, with degrees and everything, you could go back anytime and get a job. So tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so here's the deal. While that may be true that you can go back and get a job, it will not be the job you might want. Because now you're competing with people who are younger, people who can't get jobs and are willing to do anything. And by the way, just because you have those skills doesn't mean that that's the job that they will hire you for or the pay that you will get. So it's not that you can just go get a job and it's no big deal. You may have to go get 2 or 3 to cover your expenses. It's not just one. So it's not as easy as people think, particularly, and I want to be honest, as we get older, we're not as hot commodities anymore, and therefore it's not an easy thing to say, I'll just go get a job. I'll give you a case in point. So at the end of last year, and we're spilling the beans here, at the end of last year, I said, I got some credit card debt I really want to get rid of. So one of the local departments, now while I was in corporate, I went to work in a local department store just to see what it was like on the weekends and during the holidays. And so I did that. And I said, well, this is kind of fun, but I don't want to do this all the time. So at the end of last year, I said, I want to get rid of this credit card debt before I go into 2012. So they had the seasonal hiring. So I went to work at a little department store. And at the end, they said, we really like you. Would you stay? And I went, oh, God, no, I don't want to. So you get to a point where that is absolutely not an option. I'm not going back to that, because you know what happens, and people need to realize this. This is why you can't be thinking I can go back to a job. When you've been an entrepreneur and you run your own business, it's really hard to have somebody tell you what to do and when to do it now, because you're so used to not having someone do that. So keep in mind that the freedom that you were seeking in becoming an entrepreneur, there's no going back from that when you've had a taste of it. Because you won't tolerate things from people or colleagues or peers, because you know I can go run my own business. I don't need this crap. So just be aware that it's just not that easy to say I can go get a job, because you may not.
That's true. That's very true. You develop a new personality because you get used to a different lifestyle. And yes, well, you know, people say you become unemployable, and I think you really do. You really do, because you get used to running things your own way. But at the same time, it's also very hard for you to go do the things you have to do, because then you don't have somebody telling you this is what you should be doing, these are the goals that you should be getting. You might make those goals, put on the wall, and that there they stay, because there's nobody asking for that commitment from your part that you had before, right?
Right. That's the value of a good coach.
Yeah, that's true. That's
like
a good
you.
point. Or you. Another point that I want to bring that you mentioned before we move on is the thing about getting clients and thinking about keeping them. That's a very good point, because and especially when we are using social media to prospect, right? We want to get the clients, so we put all that effort into that, but then we don't have a plan behind to keep that client with us for a long time, which makes a sustainable business. Because if you're in the type of business that you have to be prospecting and bringing new people all the time, you're going to be tired very soon, because it's exhausting, right?
Absolutely.
Now, when was the moment when things started turning in your favor in your own business?
Yeah, the moment that happened was when I got fed up. I just got fed up. I would go out networking and talking with people, and I'm very conscious of not, because I've had people just immediately come up and start selling me. So I'm very conscious of that. And I would just go talk to people, and I would ask them, what are you doing to get yourself out and get your business known? And there was so much smallness in the world. There was just so much smallness. And the best example I can give of that is this woman who said to me, I want to make $100,000 in my business, but I only want to work 2 days a week.
Oh, I hear that quite often.
What?
And you say, can I pinch you so you can wake up? Can I pinch you?
Yes. And I just said, I'm done. I've had it with you people playing small. And by the way, I recognize that maybe it's me who's playing small, that I got to start thinking bigger about myself so that I can show you by example that you need to think bigger about yourself.
But Chris, she was telling you, I want to make $100,000. And, well, I don't know how much she was making, but isn't this thinking big? Tell me the difference here.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. there is a huge difference between thinking big and playing big and being big, because people who want to think big and do nothing about it are just dreaming. They're not about thinking big. They're about dreaming big. And that won't get you playing big or having a bigger bank account. So it is much more than just the thinking piece about it. There's a whole lot of action that has to accompany that. Because otherwise you're just talking big. And we know big talkers have not, in Texas they call it all hat, no cattle, because they just don't have anything to back them up. So you can talk about thinking big and all of that, but if you're not doing anything about it, then you're just a big thinker, a big dreamer. And that's what this woman was. And that's what got me thinking, I got to get people to not only think big, but to play bigger in their lives. And that means taking action, taking a step from where they are and opening themselves up to doing more. Because so many of them were just, I just hope the person shows up at the door. Well, good luck with that. They're not going to do that. And by the way, if you're not improving your skills, why the hell would I hire you to help me improve mine? So they're not even thinking broadly about how they could make a bigger impact, both in their pocketbook and in the lives of their clients. So that's what really turned things around for me, because it also helped me to recognize that there were certain clients I was willing to work with and work for. And if they weren't willing to work for themselves, I'm not willing to work with them.
I like that, because not only, I bet from this moment on, you went looking for more qualified clients for yourself, but at the same time, you're giving you, how do I say that, a value standard that you are going to qualify people that can work with you. And I understand that many times we don't have the financial backup, and we keep thinking, no, I cannot do that. I have to take whoever comes my way, because after all, we have to pay bills at the end of the month. But we are doing us a long-term disservice, because we are not only undervaluing what we are doing, we don't attract people that are really enjoyable to work with, and they usually bring a lot of headaches with them.
That's right.
So that's a good point. And then how did you start playing big from that time on? So you realized that, right? And you realized that really what people need is to think big, and I totally agree with you. One thing is just to verbalize things, like I want to make $1 million. The other thing is really understand what it is, $1 million. The third thing is to understand, what would I really do? And I don't want it to sound cliche, but what kind of difference am I going to make if I become a millionaire? Because you've got to be focused on the values in your life, or else life might play a game with you, right? So, okay, people need to think big. You understood the dynamic, right? And then?
Yes, and then I got out and started telling them, if you're not willing to play big, think bigger, and play bigger, get out of the way. And I would be just that direct.
Nice.
You need to get out of the way. You need to get out of the market. You need to stop playing with the rest of us. In fact, on my website, I started telling people, stop downloading stuff that you're not going to read. Stop participating in stuff you're not going to do. Just stop it. Just essentially get out of our way, and let us, who are ready to do the right thing by our clients, the right thing by our markets, and make an impact on the world, just let us go do our thing, and you just go sit on the sidelines and watch us. And so when I started talking to potential clients, I started weeding out who I didn't want to work with, because I knew they wouldn't get a good result. So why would I waste my time, and their money? And I agree with you. There were times I go, you know what? I could take this client on for little less money and maybe help them grow, but it would be a disservice to them. And it would cost me more in my spirit, my energy, my time and effort to try to move them along than to work with somebody who's ready to rock and roll and see them soar, which is what we're supposed to do as entrepreneurs. It's help grow the clients so that we grow as well. And so as a result of that, I would start going to only certain networking groups, not wasting my time. So my time became more valuable. I also taught my clients that. I started working with higher end clients and not taking clients who say, I only want to work with you 3 months, then I'm not the coach for you. Let me refer you over here. Or clients who would say, I don't really know what I want to do. you're not my ideal client. Are you ready to rock and roll in a business, to help people, to be of service, to make money, to grow yourself, grow your skills? Well, yeah, maybe, but I can pay you. No, I don't want you to pay. I want you to go pay yourself and get some education and then come work with me. So it helped me to be able to confidently, Shahar, say to people, this is what I can help you do. This is the result I can help you accomplish. Are you willing to invest in yourself through me to achieve that? And I was able to say that clearly and confidently and get the kind of clients that I wanted to work with as a result.
And then the face of your business did change from that moment on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I started to attract the right clients. I started to repel the right clients, if that's but we're spilling the beans. There were some people who would say, you're too expensive. Well, you know what? I'm not expensive if you are ready to make money.
Nice. Or expensive compared to what? Of not doing anything in your business? So that will probably, yeah. Now, marketing-wise, Chris, you do a lot of networking. You mentioned that you're speaking, which is something that you didn't do before, right? From the things that you use, now spill the beans here. What are the things that work to attract clients and, like you said, the qualified client to you?
Yes. So speaking is huge. Speaking has certainly helped me. The other thing that I got to say, it's always fascinating to me how I get invited to do telesummits or do anything anymore. And what I recognize is the way that that's happened is because I've been vocal on social media. And I'll say things like, don't do that anymore, or that's a waste of time to do that, or that doesn't work. You might want to consider this. And giving them something that they can grab onto. Now I'm using a lot of trends to get people to start thinking in terms of what's going on in the market that I can either help my clients with or help my market shift with. So I'm trying to lead people down a particular path so that they become more expert, more experienced, engage their market in a different way that helps them to be more visible, as well as to keep their energy up, because now they're doing something other people aren't, and that gets them energized. So I use that method in order to get people to see me and hear me, and that attracts the clients who want to play in that arena, who aren't willing to play small, and who want to do something different for their markets and for themselves. And recently I got invited to a telesummit because the woman said, I see you out here saying things like, we ought to stop doing this and we need to think bigger, and thinking bigger doesn't mean just sitting back, it means doing something. And I want you to come tell people about how that works and, what they need to do in order to be able to do that. So that has made a difference for me online as well as offline. And I've been invited to speak in arenas, larger arenas. I'm thinking of one in May that just blow me away, and it's because I have this desire to have people to step up and play a different game, because what they're doing is holding themselves back from their brilliance and their ability and what they're here to do with their clients. So just do it and make the money that you really want.
Let me see if I got this right. So when you really became on a conscious level, the values that you want to live by, and you found your unique voice, like, I'm going to say as it is, and I'm going to tell people when it's a waste of time or not. It's going to be my unique voice. Then you start getting traction, or people paying attention to what you were saying, and that start moving things along. Is that correct? Is that what he said?
Absolutely. Because you're not one with the crowd. You're standing apart from the crowd, so people see you.
Exactly. And not only that, you're showing that level of transparency that we hear so much in today's age, that you have to be transparent, but most people just try to be vanilla all the time, or send cute pictures of cats, but so how do you move that from a business? And not only that, I don't know if you agree with me, but social media is becoming the drug of choice, because I drug myself into thinking that I am using as many tools as possible, and I'm connecting and I'm making friends, and I forget that I need to run a business. And there's got to be balance, and everything that you do needs to have a measurable result. And by that I don't mean, oh, it's hard to measure social media. It's just, okay, I need to get the right kind of traction in order to get the right number of leads in order to get sales. And people just fool themselves that they have all these connections, so they are popular, but they're not paying the bills.
Right, exactly. And I will tell you that when I started paying attention to that very point, I started seeing my subscriber numbers go up. And I remember a coach saying to me, how many subscribers are you getting a day? And I go, oh, none, maybe one in a month. And when he said, what? What are you doing? And now I'm not only getting more subscribers, I'm getting more quality subscribers. And I know that because I have been specific and strategic about what I'm communicating on social media and the messages that I'm delivering. And I can see the correlation between the number of not fans, because I'm getting seen more on Twitter all of a sudden. But I'm seeing the number of people who are following me, and that number correlates to who's getting on my list. So they're following me based on the stuff I'm saying, so they like what I'm talking about, and they get on my list. And they're not coming off the list. So that's a really good measurement. It's not how many are on there, it's how many are staying with you and are digging what you're talking about. And then you really are starting to influence them to become purchasers of your product, programs, products, and services.
That's great, because that's also true. They're not just coming to get something for free. They're coming to listen to what you're saying, because what you're saying is relevant to them. And it's amazing how many people don't get that. And frankly, even marketing companies, they go about becoming viral and putting funny videos here and there. Well, that's all cool. You do increase numbers, but what do you really get from that? And when we are talking about having a fan base, having your own audience, it's crucial that this audience has a quality, right? So it's not just about numbers. It really doesn't matter that much if you have 5,000 friends on Facebook or not. It's okay, what quality do you have here? And sometimes you have to stop and take that into another level. Like, how many of these people that I have here with me would stand by my side in bed if I was going through a difficult time? And you're going to see that those numbers, they don't mean anything.
No.
Right? And for business, it's the same thing, by the way. So it's a good measurement for you to think, okay, what am I really getting out of it? Okay.
Absolutely.
What's the next step now for you in business?
The next step for me is to hit bigger stages and touch more people.
Do you have a strategy for that?
I do. So this last year, I did something called the Connecticut Tour.
Nice. Tell me about it.
This was based on watching a couple of coaches who, when they were doing their bigger events, they would hit major metropolitan cities and invite their subscribers and those in the area to come hear them speak. So while I didn't have the data to tell me that I could go to specific locations across the country, I decided I'll start small.
Good.
I was still thinking big, because there was a specific strategy behind it. It was to get out and teach more, reach more, and get more people to know about who Chris Makel was, and to build my list. So to that end, no matter what, I achieved that goal. So I hit my strategy, because whatever goal you set, you typically hit it. That's why everybody plays so small, and they hit what they set so small. So why not go big? So I did my Connecticut tour, which was fabulous on so many levels. So, by the way, if your listeners are really fearful of public speaking, the best thing I can say is go do a tour. Because after a while, you kind of walk in the room and you say, listen, I'm here to deliver, and whether you like it or not, you're going to get it. Your confidence just soars, because you're there to give, not to try to impress anybody, but to help them. And that turns your public speaking fear into true confidence and true ability to teach people and get people to follow you. So it absolutely grew my my list and my confidence and my ability to want to do this more. So my goal this year is I've already figured out on my calendar how to do both an East Coast and a West Coast tour. I know when I want to do them, and so I've given my time to plan them. So that's what's next for me, as well as getting out and speaking. And then I'm doing this wonderful event in May, and just spoke with someone who's on the trip back across the country. And now I'm going to stop, and we're going to do a live workshop in Omaha.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's getting bigger and better, and I'm trying to figure out how to get into Europe.
Well, it wouldn't be that big of a problem, let's face it. You know, that's the thing. If you put the effort that is necessary at the beginning, things start rolling, and then they go. It's the beginning process that might be frustrating at some moments, but you got to keep going because it changes, right? I think you figure out some very crucial points. You know, like the values, your unique voice, the way you're going to approach people, and this made the big difference, right? Yeah. Association with people also, you invested in self-improvement, you associated yourself with other people that you could partner. These are basic things, but we forget to do it. And again, I'm going to blame a little bit technology because it's so easy to be home in front of our computers that we forget about the other part, the other piece of making connections and friends and networking. You mentioned a point at the beginning that you took a small step in order to achieve a goal that you wanted, right? And that's still thinking big. I want to highlight that because it's very important. You cannot think big if you're just way too bold without thinking about the steps that you have to take. I personally have a client that she did a tour and she ended up losing $300,000. That easy, because it looks like thinking big, but it's really not taking care of the small steps. And you gotta also be real of what is achievable for you, you know, in relation to the exposure you have at the moment, the audience that you have at the moment, and all those things. Don't you agree?
Right. Oh, I agree. So let me just jump in for a second, because I know how that happens, and I could have done that. But I guess that old security thing kicked in, because I've watched these coaches do this big thing and I go, I could do that. I could just go to a city and blanket them with postcards and say, everybody come. Well, why would I spend that kind of money? I would rather take a small step and get a taste of it. And I'm still thinking big, because I'm thinking cities in Connecticut, but I'm going to do it strategically and get some. I knew exactly what I wanted to get out of it, and it was not spend a lot of money. What I learned was call locations and say, I'll do the promo. Would you give me the room? And they go, yeah. So here I'm doing this for free. I get the locations for free. So I didn't invest any money. So you got to think strategically how to do these things. Not invest a lot of money up front and get more in the back end. And do it in a smart way.
Yeah. Or fool yourself that you're going to close 100% of the room that you have there. Given that you don't have the experience, you haven't tried enough, you don't know all the little things that can get in the way of that sale. You know, they might be paying a lot of attention to the food that day and not paying attention enough to you. So that's a very good point. And the thing about starting to speak, we also tell our people that that's a huge platform that we should be in. And it's very rare that there is a profession or an industry that you shouldn't be on stage. But you know, it's a huge fear to a lot of people. For one, you can try Toastmasters before you make your feet wet there, which is fantastic. It helps a lot. Yeah. But the fact is, you got to be there speaking in order to train yourself. I was talking to you before we started recording, right? That I had a speaking engagement today that I really didn't enjoy a lot for the audience, how they promoted and everything. But I remember when we got out, I looked at Ashley and I said, you know, it's always good, because the fact is that when we are on stage, we're training ourselves, we are keeping ourselves on top of our game, we are seeing things that we could be doing better. So it's never a waste of time, even if, you know, that group wouldn't buy or whatever. And I spilled the beans here. There were some moments in that tour that wasn't the best, right? I mean, maybe you got in a place there was nobody, for example, which is common. Right?
Yes, we did that.
Because people tend to think, oh, I'm going to put this in, it's going to be awesome. You're going to have 500 people there. And reality is not like that, right?
No.
Did you have any no-shows during the project?
Yeah. So we had a 5-city tour.
Okay.
2 of those locations, no one showed up. However, a couple of things I walked away with. One, I negotiated both of those locations for free. So I have free space. I didn't lose any money. 2, we used the opportunity to take pictures of those locations to show we were there, whether you showed up or not. So that gave us more credibility that when Crystal and Chris say they're going to be somewhere, we're there to teach, we're there to rock and roll. So we do this again, they know we're going to show up. And 3, every location either took care of us by either feeding us and saying, we're so sorry, no one showed up, but we're going to take care of you anyway. It was a beautiful opportunity for us. So nothing wasted, because what people seem to forget is there are lessons along the way. We learned how to market better. We learned how to make connections better. We made relationships with vendors. So I know how to connect with a vendor and book a location very easily, very confidently. So even if no one showed up, I got something out of each and every one of those opportunities. So don't think that you got to go in and knock it out of the park. Think, what am I going to get out of this if no one shows up? I might get a free meal. I might get an opportunity to go speak somewhere else. Now the location knows about you. So if you need to use them again, you now have that contact. Don't think there's anything wasted. Because there's one thing I have figured out, Shahar, is I'm not wasting my time. In anything that I do, if there's no result, in anything that I do, I know I'm going to get a result. I know I'm going to get something out of it. So I go into it with that and I walk away with something.
Yeah, and this is true in every situation. Be a teleseminar that nobody shows up. This is small, and I want to put under quotes because I don't even think that they are failures, but we all go through. Frustrations, they're part of business, and we should be okay with that. There are going to be bad days. There are going to be rainy days. There are going to be days that you really don't know how you're going to pay the bills next day, and that's totally okay. Being consistent is the key to success in life, in business, and online, and that should be one of the first things people really get it. It's really important. One more day. Give it one more day and keep doing what you have to be doing. Now, don't sit down and wait for it to fall from the sky, because that doesn't happen, right?
No, it doesn't. Get up, get moving, take action.
Yeah, exactly. Chris is such a wise chick, right? And I bet people would love to keep carrying this conversation with you, right? Because unfortunately, we have a limited time. How do we carry a conversation with Chris Mako?
Well, you can come visit me at chrismako.com, and I certainly have lots of opportunities with webinars, teleseminars, or even one-on-one with a free strategy session. If you want to come talk with me about how you want to think bigger and I can help you think bigger, then I'd love to engage in that conversation with you and just keep it going. Beyond that, I really want to encourage you that the key that I want you to walk away with in this think bigger conversation it's about taking action. Sitting back and thinking big, grandiose thoughts. I mean, think back to the woman who wanted 100K and only wanted to work 2 days a week. It just doesn't happen. It won't work. Don't let anybody fool you into that. If you listen to someone saying that, they're taking you for your money. This is spill the beans, so we're going to tell you straight up that's all they're about. And I've met people like that. They do exist. Get over it. There is work involved. And Shahar and Nash are there to help you get the work done. I'm here to help you get the work done because we want you to be successful. We're not about creating more clones of ourselves. We're about helping to elevate the market and grow the market for us all to be doing successful things in the world.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Thank you for that. Can I say that the first step for thinking big is to stop fooling yourself?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah,
stop fooling yourself.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fantastic. I only had, I think, one job in my life or two tops, and I learned a lot with both, by the way. But for me, it's not an option ever because I do like this lifestyle. But I have learned how to see the reality in all this. And I think that's why I miss some timing people that come talk to us at the beginning. You know, that they miss stopping and thinking, what's real here? And you know, I can say that to you because you're a marketer and I'm a marketer. They unfortunately they follow marketers that they are full of BS, and it's all about the hype. And again, it's the drug of choice, right? Oh, I can get this, or this software, this social network, and I'm going to make 1 million subscribers overnight. Stop doing that. It doesn't work. It's like eating a lot of sugar. You're going to get high, but nothing else other than diabetes is going to get out of that.
So true.
Yeah, so please stop falling for the hype. You know, and really learn how to think big. There is a process, isn't there, Chris? It's not something that you wake up one day and you decide, I'm going to think big. There is a process. There is a system for that. Chris knows how to take you from where you are to where you need to be in that, but with a serious approach, and that's the important factor. You know,
right.
Go ahead.
It is a very serious approach. It's not about I'm going to create this huge business in 90 days. It doesn't happen that way. But I will show you systematically how to make it happen. So one, you don't lose your mind, and two, you don't lose your money. I mean, this is just not about taking your money. It's just not about that. It's about helping you to systematically grow your business. And people like Shahar Nash and I to help you do that, because that's what we're about. We're not about feeding you hype and crap and telling you to try a strategy that we haven't tried and investigated and know that works. If you invest in someone who hasn't done it, you're out of your mind, and you're also out of your money. So.
And neither one is good, right?
So you want to invest with people who know what they're doing and can get you there strategically and with a process that works.
Yeah, they have to have a trial record. They have to have a record behind them. You can just not fall because they have good talking. Thank you very much, Chris, for being here. Don't forget, people, to carry on this conversation with Chris. You can go to chrismakocoaching.com. And of course, we hope that you carry the conversation with us with another amazing guest next week. And you can get to know about it at spillthebeanstv.com. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.